Inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
As the government shutdown continues, the struggle is getting more intense for families here in KELOLAND who are affected. Tonight, we're dedicating the entire Inside KELOLAND on resources in the community. Several local and national businesses are offering help. Nationwide, there are more than 800,000 people not getting a paycheck because of the government shutdown. And that does not include tens of thousands more who are contract workers. To help make things a little less stressful, we assembled a list of resources for federal workers. If you're worried about paying your bills on time, a few local banks are offering assistance. First National and Great Western banks are working with customers to either adjust their payments or get interest-free loans. All you have to do is talk with your local banker. Midco is also working with customers to make sure they still get their phone and internet services by working with customers on their bills. And if you're worried about food, the Rapid City School District is one of several districts that is asking parents to apply for free or reduced lunches. You can also get free food for your pets at the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society. And if you need a little fun during these stressful times, the Harlem Globetrotters are offering free tickets to their game on April 15th. Now, with all of these offers, remember, you need to have your federal identification card. You can find the full list of resources under this story on KELOLAND.com. If you know of any other assistance available for federal workers or furlough right now, let us know by emailing youshare@KELOLAND.com so that we can add them to the list. Well, 3 Sioux Falls organizations are also collecting items for federal government workers furloughed due to the shutdown. Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, Hy-Vee Food Stores, and the Denny Sanford Premier Center are asking the public to donate non-perishable food items, paper products, and personal toiletries. You can take donated items to any of the locations starting tomorrow. Donations will be available for pickup by furloughed workers at the arena on Saturday, February 2nd. For a list of other businesses offering assistance during the shutdown, again, you'll want to go to KELOLAND.com. A career survey shows nearly 80% of Americans said they live paycheck to paycheck. Ed O'Keefe spoke with some furloughed federal employees. He's at a food distribution center in Washington.
I do live paycheck to paycheck.
One paycheck from peril. Sigrid Lane, furloughed for a month, now faces a more urgent reality.
As of today, I have $1.06 in my bank account.
$1.06.
That's how much I have. It's very terrifying when you look at your bank account, you have no money coming in, you don't know when you're going to get your next paycheck, and you're like, what do I do?
So far, her answer, get groceries at food banks and sell things off her own shelves.
Anything that I can sell that anybody would want to buy. Because, as I said, I have not been able to get another job.
That's how desperate you are. That you'd have
That's how desperate I am.
Like the lamp. If someone wants the
If
lamp.
somebody wants to buy it, they can buy it. That's just how desperate I am.
So desperate, Lane now fears losing her new home.
I just bought a new house, and I can't make my first mortgage payment.
She's not alone. After a 16-day government shutdown in 2013, 64% of federal workers said they had less than 2 weeks' worth of savings set aside. On the day before payday, about 20% of them had less than a day's worth of spending money in the bank.
In the last 40 years, we've had growing inequality in this country. And many families, many workers have barely seen their wages and incomes rise. So it's become increasingly difficult for them to pay for their basic expenses like housing and food and childcare.
A challenge facing furloughed workers like Jessica Appel, an executive assistant at the Department of Transportation.
Making sure now that we have enough groceries in the house, that paycheck to paycheck is everything for a small family like ours.
And because she's a contractor, Appel won't receive any back pay when the government reopens. Already facing a stack of unpaid bills, Appel found out when she went to the doctor that she and her 2-year-old son, Chase, lost their health care.
When I arrived, I was informed that my health insurance was not eligible. So I had to make the decision of paying out of pocket.
So Jessica's boyfriend took a second job at night, and she started this GoFundMe campaign, one of about 3,000 for federal workers that have raised more than $1.3 million. Meanwhile, Sigrid Lane is still stuck.
I went outside to start up my car, and my battery was dead. And the money that I had to pay for groceries. I had to pay for a car battery yesterday.
You turned that key in the car and you realized it was not working. What was your reaction?
What am I going to do? And it took everything I had.
This distribution center that assists food banks across the Washington region tells us that they're set to serve about 600,000 more meals than usual this month. That's because of the government shutdown. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, Washington.
Feeding South Dakota is gearing up for an increased need for food and assistance. We'll show you how you can help next on Inside KELOLAND. Welcome back. If the shutdown doesn't end sometime soon, Feeding South Dakota is gearing up for what will come next. The organization says with many federal employees needing food assistance for the first time and the possibility of SNAP benefits or food stamps running out, demand for help is on the rise. Joining me now is Jennifer Stensas with Feeding South Dakota. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. So already there's a big need in Sioux Falls. I mean, we talk with you folks from Feeding South Dakota quite a bit.
And we appreciate that.
And the demand is going to go up, or is it already going up?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is just the influx of people that have never come to us before. And that's the message that we want to put out there, is that we're there as we always have been, and there are no restrictions, there are no guidelines for people to come to get food. All you need is your ID and a piece of mail showing your address, verifying where you live. But so we are there for people in need of food assistance.
You don't give people surveys for income guidelines or anything like that? Yeah.
No, because food is such a basic need, and I think that oftentimes when you're looking at services that are looking to qualify people for food assistance or for any type of assistance for that matter, you're actually hurting those that just barely miss those income guidelines. They make just a little bit. The working poor. Yeah. They're just, a dollar or more too much.
And it's so interesting. We just learned, and I think most of us knew a lot about this, though, that most people do live paycheck to paycheck. So all of a sudden not getting a paycheck, that's huge.
Right. You're hearing people saying, I have to choose between, fixing my car or feeding my family. And if I don't fix my car, I can't get to work, or I can't do what I need to do for my family. And so, that's why we're there. When you're making those tough choices, we want to be there to take away this one burden from your house.
So what about the SNAP program? What about food stamps? What will happen if those don't come out?
Right. So what we're working for forward to is a plan that our goal is to distribute 100% more food than what we already do, which across the state is 1.2 million pounds per month. So when we are looking at people that are qualifying for SNAP benefits in South Dakota, we know that that's 82,000 families that are on SNAP benefits. The total distributions for SNAP benefits is $10.3 million. If those benefits go away, as we look into the end of February or March, what we would need to then do is distribute over 5 million pounds to cover that 10.3 million in benefits that will go away.
Wow, and that is a lot, and you have to get that food from somewhere.
Yes.
And if retailers like stores are seeing fewer people shopping because they're unemployed, then they're making less money, they have less to give. It's kind of a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Well, it is, and we don't know, which way is that going to go. Will they not be able to have more coming into the stores because they know that they can't sell that food, or will they have already been, received all of that food and now no one's there to buy it? So it's hard to say, because then we could be able to capture that excess food if no one is there. But that's the beauty of being a part of that Feeding America network, that we have access to manufacturers across the country.
So big distributors is what you're saying. Yeah. So can you meet that need if it increases?
Right now our inventory is at about 1.2 million pounds. So our inventory is right, we are at where we're at. We're a warehouse distribution facility. We're constantly distributing and moving food. We don't store food. So currently, no. And that's what we're looking for to the community, is understanding that if we have to do this additional 5 million pounds, that will put us at 6.2 million pounds in a month that we'll have to do. And so that's what we're looking to the community to.
Well, and also support. Nobody really knows how long this will go on. It seems like such a stalemate, and it's affecting so many lives.
Well, we're all learning, and in crisis mode, in disaster recovery, and I think it's a great exercise. We want the government to reopen. We don't want to get to that point.
Does it put too much burden on nonprofits who are already just doing the best they can to meet needs and fill the gap?
It's a lot of extra work. We won't lie about that, because lives are at stake here. You know, you can't not have food. And so, you know, we're working hard every day to plan for this exercise, along with just doing what we always do every day, which is just feeding the people that are coming to us today.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for everything that you are doing. And how can I help if I'm just watching something? Our viewers out there who are watching this, how can they help? What can we do?
3 things. The first thing is to volunteer. With all of this increased need that we're projecting, our distribution methods are going to change. And so with that change will come, we need more hands to make that work. So I'll go online to our Facebook, or not to, excuse me, to our website, and for our 3 different distribution facilities, we have a calendar for each one that volunteers can register for, and then please sign up. Don't leave. Sign up for a shift today. There's lots of different things that you can do.
How much time are you asking for in these shifts?
Oh my gosh, you could be there for 2 hours. You could be there for the day if you wanted to. There's lots of different things.
So lots of options.
Second thing is food drives. Specifically cereal. We've just discovered this morning that we have depleted our cereal supply across the state.
That sounds like a good thing a school could do. You know, have kids bring in boxes of cereal or something like that.
Bring your favorite cereal. Anybody can do a food drive. It's not that complicated. It's not hard. So do a food drive for cereal. We'd appreciate that. And third, but probably most important, is monetary donations. For every $1 donated, we can provide 3 meals to those that are hungry. So when we're looking at purchasing all of this food, the healthier options, monetary donations are necessary.
Money is king, right? So money is always needed. All right, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And good luck. Well, people who wouldn't normally be looking for help are searching for assistance just to get by. We stopped by the Helpline Center this week to learn about the unique ways they're lending a hand right now.
For the most part, the Helpline Center serves as a middle ground, connecting people in need with resources available. However, with the government shutdown still going, the Helpline Center is getting a lot of calls from people who have never reached out before.
Just telling us kind of the basics, that they're, you know, they're impacted by the government shutdown and that they're needing additional support.
With these abnormal circumstances, Connection Center Director Taylor Funke decided to do something new. Just outside the Helpline Center doors, in the lobby of the nonprofit building on Northwest Avenue, they've set up a food drive box. Any foods that keep well on a shelf are needed.
And then our staff here are just kind of divvy it up between Feeding South Dakota and the Salvation Army and donate it to their food banks.
It's not just food the Helpline Center is stepping outside the box for. They've also been asking any local businesses offering help to furloughed workers to share that information with them so they can pass it along to those in need.
We have over nearly 4,000 resources in our database, and so we can access people to help for like paying for their rent or paying for their utilities. If, you know, they're short a paycheck right now and need a little extra assistance.
Well, Funke also wants to remind people stressed out by the shutdown that the Helpline Center does offer crisis assistance if you feel helpless or depressed. Another resource members of the community can turn to is the Banquet. We'll show you the need and what they're doing to help. Today, we are taking a closer look at the partial government shutdown and how it's affecting people right here in KELOLAND. Now, there are so many places in the community where people can turn for help in times of need. One of them is the Banquet. We are joined now by Madeline Shields to talk about how the Sioux Falls charity is making a big difference. One of the best things about the Banquet is that anybody can go at any time for any meal.
Right. We serve 13 meals a week, and it's no questions asked. Anyone can come to the Banquet and have a meal. We serve hot, nutritious meals Monday through Friday from 6 to 7:30 is our dinner meal. We serve breakfast Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 o'clock. We have lunch on Saturday.
So lunch just one day a week?
Yes,
Saturday.
we do lunch on Saturdays.
So it's breakfast and dinner?
Monday through Friday, yes. Okay. And then we serve on the west side of Sioux Falls. We call that Banquet West, and that's temporary location at the W.H. Lyon Fairgrounds in the Nordstrom Johnson building. So if you live on the west side or the northwest side and it's closer, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays we serve a meal there from 6 until 7:30.
So that's the evening meal?
The evening meal, yes.
The Banquet has really increased and its mission and how many people it's serving over the years. How many years have you been at the Banquet now, Madeline, former KELOLAND TV reporter?
I've been there 13 years, and it really has. You know, we know that when folks can't afford food, there's lots of things that they can't afford. So we do try to help the whole person. But our main ministry is to feed people. And we have no questions asked. Anyone can come to the Banquet, come to our meals, and walk in the door. And our whole mission is to treat our guests with dignity and respect. And anyone who wants to come in for a meal is certainly welcome to come.
And we've talked about how some people, especially if they're new to this, if they are a furloughed worker and for the first time they maybe can't buy food or have a hot meal ready, they may have some reluctance, you know, to walk into a place like the Banquet.
Absolutely. And you know, we understand that, but when you look at the whole ministry of the Banquet and how it works, every meal is served by a volunteer group. We have anywhere between 25 and 40 volunteers that come in, they cook the meal, they serve the meal, and they cover the cost of that meal. And our volunteers are asked to sit down with the guests and share a meal. And so when the doors open, yes, you have your volunteer group and you have your guests that are coming through the doors, but by about 6:15, 6:30, everyone is mingling. They're sitting at the table together, they're having a conversation, and everyone is having a meal together.
And there's no awkward time where you walk in and it's all new and nobody knows you, that kind of thing.
Right, it's not. And the minute you walk into the dining room at the Banquet, you are greeted by a volunteer that says, hello, thanks for coming, you know, come on in, this is the way you go. And so I think people really need to, they can really be at ease to know that they are welcome to come to the Banquet. We serve hot, delicious meals. They are fantastic, and everybody is welcome to come. And we have a lot of people that think, well, you know, if I go down there and eat, I'm taking food away from someone else who really needs it.
I kind of felt that way as a volunteer before. Like, I shouldn't be eating this food because someone else might need it.
Right, but that is not the case at all. We plan, we know, when you walk into the doors of the dining room, you get a poker chip. And that's how we know how many people we're serving. So if we served 450 people last night, we're going to plan for 450 people tonight. And so we know, but that's the only statistic we keep at the Banquet. We don't ask your name, we don't ask anything except come on in, welcome to the Banquet, here's where your tray of food, and sit down. We serve coffee, water, milk with all of our meals.
And what does the Banquet need right now?
The Banquet always needs volunteer groups because, you know, folks want to know how they can give back to help the Banquet. Well, what we need are people to go online and look at the dates that we don't have covered. And so those dates pop up on our website and they're in red.
I can see parents wanting to do this kind of thing with kids or school groups or youth groups. Is there a certain age requirement?
Sure. There is actually 13 and over can do any jobs at the Banquet. They can cook, they can serve, they can pour beverages, do dishes, everything. Between the ages of 10 and 13, they can wash tables, they can give the tokens or take the tokens, help carry trays for people with babies or if they're disabled. So we can put a lot of people to work. The one thing that people are always reluctant about is they think, well, there's only 5 or 6 of us. You know, we're not enough to cover a group because we need about 40. We will put your group of 5 with another group that needs an extra 5 or 10 people. That is our job, to get those volunteer positions filled.
Do you expect to see an increase now? Do you think you will?
We think we will, as long as people know that they are welcome to come to the Banquet and that they are completely, you know, will be treated with dignity and respect. We would love to have them come to the Banquet.
Right. Thank you, Madeline. Well, as the partial federal government shutdown drags on, workers have missed a second paycheck. TSA officers at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport are helping each other out with makeshift food and a supply bank. Jennifer Mayerly has the story.
Behind the closed checkpoint 2 at MSP's Terminal 2, TSA workers found a way to help each other.
This is our little repurposed food pantry. This is all supplied by TSA employees who have been bringing it in to help out those who are facing, you know, challenges during this shutdown.
A week into the government shutdown, they began stocking it with items to support their own.
Over here.
And there's more.
This is the overflow room. These are basically your personal hygiene items, everything from vegetables to toilet paper to cat food.
It comes at a time when MSP had the worst security wait times in the country. Monday, passengers waited 46 minutes at peak times. TSA was down officers before the shutdown, and it's hitting those working without pay.
People are gutting it out and coming in. We have a lot of single parents working here. We have a number of people that are dual income households that both are working here and they have kids. It's hard, but people are dedicated. People believe in the job, they believe in security.
TSA officers say they appreciate all of the thank yous and travelers that have tried to help.
Every day. Every day.
It's too cumbersome to have passengers bring food to the airport to help TSA employees. It would all have to be screened. So here's what you can do. Workers can accept gift cards for goods like grocery or gas cards up to $20.
And then what we do is we log them all in, we track them, and we distribute them to our officers in need. And the public's generosity has just been incredible.
Another way to help is to donate to the local food pantry, like Feeding South Dakota. That will benefit other federal workers until the government reopens. How the government shutdown could impact your tax refund next on Inside KELOLAND. Are you ready for tax season? The federal government may actually not be. Earlier, thousands of IRS employees were called back to work so they could handle tax returns and send out refunds. But this past week, several hundred of them got permission to stay off the job because of financial hardships. So how does all this affect your taxes and refunds? We stopped by Nest Tax and Bookkeeping for more insight into how the government shutdown and new tax codes could impact your return this year.
It's been 33 days since this partial shutdown began. Now, people who don't even work for the government are getting nervous about their own money.
Yes, everybody's heard about the government shutdown, and many are confused and believe that perhaps they won't get their refund.
So will they? The answer is a little complicated. There's a report this week which says only 57% of IRS workers are showing up to work. That has some concern the tax filing process will be slowed down. However, Tim Ness with Nest Tax and Bookkeeping says President Trump and the Treasury Department have guaranteed tax returns will be on time.
It could impact electronic filing and, of course, some of the other work at the IRS. But just this past Monday, about 36,000 additional workers were added to the staff at the Internal Revenue Service. And so a lot of employees are reporting to work for the first time, and hopefully that'll carry through to the end of the filing season.
On top of all this, the U.S. has been through the biggest tax change in decades this past year with the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Ness says even the form looks different.
So many people are confused about that, and we're here to help. If you want to give us a call, we'll walk you through it or set an appointment for them.
And that is all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week for more on what's going on inside KELOLAND.